are we investment ready? That's the question. Begs the question. I'll leave that to question time, not in Parliament, but at this conference. Yeah. So our panel of speakers here, we will field some questions here. But with Mr. Cashman here, please, can we advertise this conference widely? That we need to attract the investors here. So we allay all the doubts, the prevailing doubts that they have about entering the country, how to facilitate their business, their registration, their mergers and acquisitions, migration, and as David said, the national content policy, which they're already embarking upon. But yes, I'll leave this time open for any questions. Please direct them to our specific sectors here. Thank you. I see no show of hands, but we will still hang around. We'll still field your questions. We are government. We'll wait for you to ask us a question. Yes, can you, do we have a microphone here, please? Introduce yourself, state the name and your credentials, please.
Frank Dunphy, PNG Stock Exchange. Question for Clarence. Clarence, with the companies that haven't re-registered, if I'm doing business with one of them, how do I know? Are they still able to operate business? Are they still able to hold bank accounts and operate those bank accounts?
Thank you, Frank, and good question. So, as I mentioned in my presentation, all companies were given a period of 12 months to update their data. As of 30th of November this year, those that have not complied, if you go to the online registry system now, you will see that they should by now have their status as removed. Now, that's not to mean that they've been removed and they stopped from doing business. It's just that the 12-month period has lapsed. They can still come back and reinstate their companies through the reinstatement process. Plus, the other difference will be that during that 12-month, the IPA did not charge anything for the process. If you come in to reinstate your entities now, then obviously the applicable fees and appropriate penalties will apply. The banks will be using that, will be communicating with the registrar of companies on those entities that have been removed, that means deregistered, and the banks will apply the necessary measures as to not entertain those bank accounts. So it's really up to the companies to take the appropriate action. If they have bank accounts and they're still operating, the opportunity to reinstate is still there. There's been some misconception going on that by removing companies, the IPA is stopping companies from doing business. But that is not the case. It's just that there was a fixed time frame given for compliance to be undertaken, and anyone who falls beyond that time lapse is expected to undergo the reinstatement process. And I should also state that if you wish to find out the status of an entity, it's publicly available from the website www.ipa.gov.pg. Then you can go to search for entities and you can type in the company. If you type in the entity and you can see the status, whether it has, if the entity status is registered, then that means it has complied. If the status is removed, then that means it's one of those, obviously, you should not be doing business with, and they have to undergo that process. You can get that on the homepage. If you wish to dig deeper into knowing who the shareholders and the directors are, then obviously there's a small fee that applies if you go deeper into getting more information. In the previous system, for the last 8 to 9 years, this information was provided free of charge. We're now applying the small fees to access the data from the system. I hope that helps, Frank.
Thank you.
Question time is open. For any further? Another question down there by, yeah.
Thank you. Winter Foreko here, Acting Deputy Secretary, Mining. Secretary Ganai, thank you for your presentation. Just to understand how the effort of DCI in terms of your collaboration and your effort in terms of talking with PNG Core as the front in terms of investment in marketing the national content policy as the overarching policy. And also the second is how is DCI streamlining your conversation with your other colleague departments in the government sector in terms of how each sector has to streamline with the overarching policy. We have heard from DPE in terms of the establishment of the National Content Office and how your mandate comes into play in the mineral resource sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Secretary, Department of Mineral Policy and Geohazard Management. Okay, this policy was workshopped widely before we got it finalized and got it to Cabinet for endorsement. So all sectors were consulted before we finalized the policy. So in terms of consultation, I think we went around the country even after the national consultations. We went around the country, including the provinces. So everybody was consulted before we got the policy finalized and got it to Cabinet to have it finalized. So in terms of consulting with key stakeholders, I think we've satisfied that process. I don't know if I've answered your question correctly.
Just for the implementation phase that I'm concerned about, I'm sure your consultations, we received those, we received the draft policy. Just looking at how each department or agency should streamline with the overarching policy, that's where I'm coming from. And in the investment front, how the department is having that conversation or the dialogue constantly with the chamber to make sure the investors know what our national content aspirations are for the country. So when we sit down in a negotiation table or when we want to strike a deal, we strike a deal that meets the interest of everybody, the national interest of the nation and the locals that are impacted by the project. That's basically where I'm coming from. Thank you.
All right. Thank you again. I think I've presented the slide up there in terms of coordination and monitoring. It's all there in the slide. But in terms of complementing each other, I think the policy that Commerce and Industry has written and developed, it's overarching. It's not a sector-specific policy. I think all the other sectors will have to align to the overarching national content policy.
Thank you, Mr. Ganai. The alignment and coordination with the commerce and industry, and if you could make available those slides, Mr. Ganai, to our colleague agencies. Yeah, please identify yourself. And
Thank you. My name is Brian Paulus. I'm from the PNG project, Land Owners. My question is to David Ganai, the Secretary for Department of Commerce and Industry. Again, in your structure, I saw that you have umbrella land owner companies and associations also included. Having seen your policy, that is very exciting for us as well. And also, I would like to ask if you have the programs, if you have developed programs to support the capacity of the landowner associations and the businesses. If you do have the programs, please, if you can let us know. Thank you.
Thank you. When we got the policy through Cabinet for endorsement, I think we provided a schedule on what we plan to do. And I think the interests of the landowners are captured. We have work programs we can share with you. We can share that information with you. You can talk to my officers, they're all here. So we can share that information with you. But all work programs on national content, all activities are going to be coordinated by the department, and we are happy to share the information that we have on the work programs that we plan to start implementing in the new year.
If there are no further questions, I'll ask. Oh, I have a question there from MRA. Can you have a microphone there, please?
Thank you, panel. This one is to Mr. Ayn. That's with regards to the mergers and acquisitions. But thank you for the very wonderful presentations that you guys did. So that gave us a lot of insight into how companies merged and acquired in Papua New Guinea. Now, we have seen a lot of acquisitions done in Port Moresby or in PNG, and most of them have always been for the good of the companies. But one particular one that has struck me was the merger between Wara PNG and Erarano. But that has resulted in an increase in the water rates that we are paying. Now, what role do you play in ensuring that the interests of the ratepayers are considered in such an acquisition? Thank you.
Thank you. We play two separate roles. One is the mergers and acquisition. That's another section that deals with our role in the tariffing on the SOEs. Water rates, we expect it to come down for this new rates for this year. What has actually happened is, for me included, I had experience with water rates going up, and I did my own investigation. Is the water metering system is something that is tampered with. So I record my volume monthly, and when I fronted up in terms of paying my bill, this is not reflecting the rates that we set for you. You are paying us on a separate rate. Then they started blaming the metering system once the migration was done. So I'm sure all of us are experiencing this, but we have taken on board personally, myself and our team there, trying to address this concern. So the rates effectively should be coming down. That was what we approved, but it's the metering system that is causing.
I hope that answers your questions. Do you have any more questions? If not, then that ends our session. But please continue the conversation with our panelists here, here and down at the gallery, second level, on what they do, their mandate, their regulatory regimes, what they're doing to improve and facilitate investment in Papua New Guinea. Yeah. With those few words, that formally ends our session. Thank you for attendance.